All right. What it do, what it do. Here's what we're going to get into in tonight's edition of the Klown podcast. We're going to get into some French Open talk with my homegirl, Janina Reed from Real Tennis Fans YouTube podcast. We're going to really touch upon what happened with Naomi Osaka and the fallout with that, with her mental health and the reaction from the US, from the French Open press and everything. We're also going to get into some NBA playoff talk. Uh, I said game fives tonight. My New York Knicks being in one of them, do or die situation, and of course LeBron James being on the brink of elimination after last night's debacle in Phoenix in games 5, I think it was. And we're going to touch upon HBCU sports as we do every week. And last but not least, anything we didn't get to, going to do into some random shit. Something we all love to just rant on and just talk about what we didn't get talked about earlier. So please subscribe in the meantime. Hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. You'll be glad you did, and I'll be glad you did. So until then, guys, let's get it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I told you. Welcome to this edition of the Clown Hour. I'm Scott Burks, your host. My co-host, Dwayne Nash, below me. You can check him out on the r/HBCU Sports and reps of all things HBCU Sports, as well as Sleazy Radio every Tuesday now on Facebook Live. You can check him out as well as herosports.com, where he raps about all things FCS as it pertains to HBCU athletics. As for me, please check me out on the Clown Times. It's my blog here, and I'll get to the merch later at www.theclowntimes.net. Check me out on Facebook as well. So where you're on your smartphone, desktop, laptop, to search the Clown Times, you find me there as well. And speaking of merch, right here at cafepress.com.
Get the merch.
And search for the Clown Sports. I'll have the link in the description tomorrow when I upload to YouTube so you can find the gear as well. And tonight, you remember this sister right here, talks all things tennis. She's savage as hell. I love her. She's going to bring the heat tonight. Gina Reed from Real Tennis Fans podcast on YouTube. They did a show the other night. I'll be curious to know about that. So welcome back, Janina.
I've been waiting on this since
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh my God, I get a round of applause. Wow, I feel special.
Scott, please. Scott, please. Lord Jesus. Ooh.
Oh, man, we got a lot to get into, man. Of course, you got the French Open going on right now, but I will go into the stuff, but there's not a lot going on, especially as a comparison to what went down with Naomi Osaka. Now, in case you guys didn't know, Naomi Osaka, she's been dealing with some mental health issues since 2018. I think, Janina, am I right on that, or am I off for a couple of years?
You're right.
Okay, so long story short, she gave the heads up saying that before the tournament, said that she won't be doing any, if at all, like many, if not, if, or none, interviews because she's trying to check her mental health, just paraphrasing. And then after her first match, she pulled out saying that she's gonna keep try to keep abreast of her mental health. And it was a big deal, obviously, because she's one of the best players in the world. And, you know, one thing you don't want to do is lose your stars out of a major tournament like the French Open. And the backlash she got from I think the governing body, we'll talk about that with Janine momentarily. She got a lot of support from her fellow athletes across sports. And Venus Williams had a gym that she came up with. We're going to talk about that later. I love that gym that Venus dropped on the media. But we're going to talk first about Naomi Osaka herself. So Janina, please give me your thoughts on Naomi Osaka dropping out of the French Open. How is it going to reverberate across the landscape going forward?
Okay, real quick for context, right?
Mm-hmm.
Naomi Osaka, about 5 days before the tournament starts, says, I'm not going to do any press conferences.
Correct.
Sometimes they're uncomfortable. I don't need to hear about how bad I am on clay. Truth be told, she doesn't have a good record on clay. She says, I just want to focus on my tennis. I'm giving you the heads up. I know that this is going to incur a fine because that is a rule of tennis. A lot of people want to say, oh, tennis players have contracts. No, they don't,
Right.
but there are rules. And the rule is that if you're requested to be in press after your match, you show up for that post-match presser. If you do not, you can be fined. So
Right.
she says initially in her statement, I know that I'm going to be fined, but I have to protect myself and do what's best for me and work on my own mental health. And I hope that, you know, for the copious amounts of money that I know that I will be fined, I hope that that can go to a mental health charity. That's it. That's all she says. Well, tennis loses its shit for all the wrong reasons, like it always fucking does. She has her first match. She wins her match. She doesn't show up to press. She gets fined $15,000. Now, in the rules, I believe it says it can be probably, tennis rules are so subjective. It'll say, oh, misconduct of behavior up to $20,000, and one person gets like 500 and the next gets 18,000. It's so subjective. But she doesn't go to press. She gets fined $15,000. Then Wimbledon, Roland Garros, the Australian Open, and the US Open come together with this joint statement. And if anybody listening doesn't know who that is like, let's compare it to the Super Bowl. Tennis has 4 Super Bowls. The biggest tournaments of their calendar year are those events. And they say, you know what, Naomi, you need to come to work. You need to do your job. If you repeatedly miss press, we, as the Grand Slams of the tour, may ban you from all 4 of our tournaments. And in response to that, she says, she releases a longer statement. And that's when she says, I have struggled from bouts of depression. I don't want to do this. I have the press telling me that I'm bad on clay. I have family members telling me I'm bad on clay. I want to focus on my tennis. I cannot subject myself to this. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. She apologizes to the journalists, which is very important, but we'll get to. She apologizes to journalists who she believes she's friendly with, that she hopes that she didn't hurt anyone's feelings, and she has decided to just go ahead and withdraw from the tournament. So then shit really hits the fan, right? Because for sure, the tennis bigwigs thought, you know what, we're gonna press her and she's gonna say, okay, I'll do it. Well, let us all be reminded that Naomi Osaka is the highest paid female athlete in the entire world. She can afford to pay all your fines. She can afford to walk away from tennis today and never play again and be more than taken care of for the next 5 generations of her family, because she has that much money. But they certainly for sure thought, we're going to threaten you to not be able to play Wimbledon, to not be able to play the US Open. So surely you're going to come and do our press conferences. And she said, fuck you, I'm out. So then all of the people, including Miss Tennis Billie Jean King, who was gently nudging her that she has obligations to the press, all these people, Martina Navratilova, who was saying, Naomi, suck it up and do your job and go to press, and these journalistic friends of hers that she doesn't want to offend, and I know I'm not going to put anybody's name out there, but I know exactly who she's talking about. None of them were defending her when she made her initial statement and said that she wasn't going to do press. But after she withdraws and puts out this long statement that, you know what, I'm struggling and I've been struggling for years and I have to put my mental health before the good of your press conference, which are stupid. She said, you know, we get asked the same questions repeatedly. I'm going to tell you what, I have sat in press with Naomi Osaka. I have seen some of the bullshit. They are more interested in asking her what fucking video game she's playing than about her tennis. I've witnessed it. Naomi Osaka used to put on this very, let me give you whatever you want personality in press, and she's grown up. She's grown up and she doesn't play that game anymore. So she called them all out on their bullshit. And now that she has validated what she said, let's be clear. She said, I am doing this because of my mental health, to protect my mental health. That's it. She never needed to say anything more. But because she decided to go ahead and say, I have been struggling with major bouts of depression, for X amount of years. Now people want to say, I'm so sorry. Take all the time you need, blah, blah, blah. And guess who comes out with this big, huge statement? Roland Garros, Wimbledon, US Open, Australian Open, wishing her all the best. And what can we do to help? And we are here to support our players. And, you know, just all the blah, blah, motherfucking blah, blah that they should have said first.
First,
you know,
right.
If I call you and you're my boss and I say, I don't feel good today, I won't be into work, you're not going to ask me why. You're going to say, feel better. Have a nice day. This is her job. I'm thinking I can get you some FMLA if you're American. You know, we can protect your position. But it's fucking ridiculous. It is unreal. They have forced her to put her private, personal business out there. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something. They would never do this to other people. People want to say this isn't racialized. They want to say this isn't about gender.
Bullshit.
Naomi Osaka is one of the biggest tennis players in the world. But you know what? People don't know her. They don't know her. She doesn't sell their tickets. If Roger Federer said, and just to be clear, I don't think he would ever do this. He would never do it. People go, Roger would never do that. You know what? You're right. He wouldn't. He probably wouldn't. But he's not my BFF. I'm not going to say what he won't do. But chances are he's not going to do it. But if he did, if Roger Federer, the king of tennis, said, I'm not going to do press for an entire tournament. And let's be clear, she didn't say forever. She said for this tournament. Because truth be told, all these people that are pissed off would talk to her in about 3 weeks' time at Wimbledon. Yeah. So you really ain't missing out on that much. But anyways, if Roger Federer said, I'm not going to do press, I'm going to take my fine. Do you think in a million years they would say, Roger, how dare you? You better do it or you can't play. And not only can you not play,
both of them.
They would never do it. They would never do that because he puts asses in the seats. He brings the ratings to the TV. Osaka doesn't have that power. If Novak Djokovic said that, they probably would say, Novak, you're our number one player. Think about this. I don't think they would tell him that he couldn't play, but they wouldn't bow down and say, how could I help you? What can we do to make this right? Like they would Roger Federer. Right. Would they tell Serena, get your shit together or you can't play? You better fucking believe it. Yeah. She does all the same things as Roger Federer when it comes to selling tickets and putting asses in seats, but she's a Black woman in a white sport. So I think it's very telling. I think it's very telling that, like I said, these people are not, who are supposed to be her friends, are not defending her. Their Twitter timelines are very, very quiet. You go and you just see crickets jumping all over. They're everywhere. Not a damn thing. And it's really sad. It is really, really sad. And Lindsay Davenport was on Tennis Channel talking about how when she was playing with Jennifer Capriati, who was at the time America's sweetheart, she was very young. She has spiraled into a mental head case out of nowhere. That woman is nuts now, let me tell you.
Wow.
But Lindsay was saying that when they were on tour, Capriati, yeah. When they were on tour together, she was clearly struggling mentally. Everybody around her was watching her break down and have this huge mental breakdown. And everyone ignored it. There was no help offered for her from anyone, you know. So this isn't new. It isn't like they don't know how to handle this. And I mean, it's really sad. And it really pisses me off because no one should ever have to put their business out there like that. And I get it. It's a rule of your sport, but damn it, take the fine and let her move on. She also emailed them and said, this isn't personal. I just have to take care of me. After the tournament is over, I would love to sit down with you being Roland Garros, the French Open people, and work on a solution and how we can make this better going forward, how we can make press more productive and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and they just totally ignored all of that. And they tried to shame her into doing the press conferences. And in doing so, they lost their number 2 seed of the tournament.
Yep.
It's really sad.
Well, how about this? Talk about sad. Who the hell's the top seed? Nope. I mean, it's like the top seed. I don't think is a household name, but who's the top seed? Is it Gerber?
So the top seed, oh no, Kerber lost. She lost a while ago. She lost on day one. I mean, we're
Okay.
only 3 days in, but she still lost on day one.
Well, there you go.
Ash Barty is your number 1 seed.
Barty, okay,
And she basically, this is really rich. She basically said Naomi should suck it up and do the press. Ash Barty was struggling with her personal self and completely removed herself from the game for quite some time. Nobody blinked a fucking eye. She essentially did the same thing that Naomi Osaka has done without making an announcement about it. So it can't be you that says she should go to the press conference. I will tell you one thing about Ash Barty. She knows the press isn't her friend. It's the only thing I really like about her. I remember being in press with her one time and someone asked her a question and they wanted to follow up and they wanted to get more from her. And she was like, listen, I'm not giving you any more. You're the press. You will take my words and twist them into whatever it is that you want. So no, I won't elaborate. That's it. I like you, but I don't trust you. And that's, you know what, that's the relationship that it probably should be between an athlete and the press. I mean, most other sports know that. Listen, I wanted Naomi, this is what I wanted. I really, really wanted, after Naomi got some pushback, to go into every single one of those press conferences and pull a fucking Marshawn Lynch and say, I'm only here so I don't get fined.
Yeah.
To every question, thank you for asking. That's what I thought, well, that'll fucking shut him up. Because oh my God. Okay. Let me know if you want to talk.
No, that's okay. That's why I got you on here.
So
yeah, you bring
I
the
learned
funk.
something on my podcast, Andreen, one of my co-hosts. I did not know this. So when players get fined in tennis, that money actually goes into player development.
Oh.
So this could have been a beautiful moment for tennis. They could have allowed Naomi to skip all those press conferences. They could have fined her $15,000 for every single one and taken that money and saying, we are going to take this to develop some type of mental health support program for our players. They could have made themselves look like royalty among sports, and they totally fucked it up because they wanted to tell the Black woman to sit down and shut up.
Well, no, sit down and talk.
Right.
Shut up and dribble, right?
Yeah. Pretty much. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, it's somehow tennis, Lord. From what you share with us from, I'm sorry, but what you share with us from the past, there's some past conversation we've had about the treatment of the Williams sisters, but the treatment of Taylor Townsend, for the treatment of other focus of U.S. tennis players of color.
Yeah.
And to have this happen to Naomi Osaka, who's a U.S. resident, but she's obviously Japanese and Haitian. But the point is, she did visit with she's affiliated with Japan. But the point being,
she plays for Japan.
She plays for Japan. So the fact of the matter is, it's just another example of how this damn sport does not help its stars of color. Let's just keep it real. I mean,
so
keep it real.
I can't. So I said, so she pulled out of the tournament on, I don't know what day it was. Whatever day it was.
Was it Tuesday? I think it was Tuesday.
It was this
last week, right?
Oh, last week.
Oh, it was last week. Okay. I thought it was this week. But that's
no, it had to be this week because the tournament just started. See, I haven't worked in a while until today. I was off for 5 days. So my days are all screwed up. I think it was like Monday or Tuesday. So
no, it was Monday. It was Monday. It was Monday.
So so we recorded a podcast about just that. Check it out. That day. And I said, tennis will be, the sad thing about this is tennis will be on every major news outlet, every small news outlet. And once again, it's going to be for all the wrong reasons. I said, this will be on Good Morning America tomorrow. And we'll have, they'll probably talk about it on The View when there was this. And, I said, well, and unfortunately.
Yeah, I watched. Yeah.
they'll it'll
together.
probably for a lot of people be like when Whoopi Goldberg said Dominic Thiem. Do you remember when he got kicked out of an interview room for Serena? And another day, but Dominic Thiem, number 4 player in the world at one point, got removed from an interview room because it was the big one, because Serena's match finished whatever, and they wanted her in there because they needed the space. So he was asked to leave and go to interroom number 4 or whatever, a small one for Serena. And Serena didn't ask for the space. She didn't do it, but Dominic Thiem got real ugly and nasty about it. And when they talked about it on The View, Whoopi Goldberg was like, who the fuck is Dominic Thiem? But this is your number 4 men's player in the world, but nobody knows who he is. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, on my podcast, we were saying this is going to be all over everywhere. And it's going to be ugly because, once again, tennis fucked up. And 2, people outside of tennis, I don't even want to say sports people, because sports people don't cover tennis properly. They don't know their names. They don't know how to talk about it. They don't know the rules. It's a very niche sport. You have to be invested. Oh my God, it was ugly. It was ugly. I mean, my local news, this is me on my phone, tweeting or like, I'm like, no, she's not African American. No. I mean, it was so bad. It was so bad. But my comments did make it on TV because, you know, nobody else knew what the fuck they were talking about.
Oh my!
But no, you're right, because it made its rounds to just about every talk show that I watched yesterday.
It was on CNN. It was
news
everywhere.
related, even pop culture related. It made its rounds.
Yes.
And I'm like, wow, this is crazy. And of course, it was extremely polarizing, as I would anticipate it to be, especially with a lot of white men who were do your job, shut your mouth. Yeah. So yeah.
That's what you just said. I saw a lot of that too. So one of the local Cleveland news stations went live on Facebook, and they were talking about it, and all of these white men and women were like, somebody didn't read their contract. Do you have a contract? Do this. That's why I said, no, I'm sorry, you don't. I mean, that's not.
Glad you corrected it, because that's what I was thinking as well.
Yeah, it's a rule. Rules can be broken. Rules have consequences when you break them, but they don't have contracts. You know who they have contracts with? Nike, Rolex, Barilla, Pasta. You know, but they're not contracted with the ATP or the WTA or any of these tournaments. They are actually paying to enter these tournaments. People don't know that. I mean, it's just like anything else. Think about a golf player. Like, they're going to get an appearance fee, which is going to very much wipe out anything an entry fee. But they're all paying entry fees, all of them. So, I mean, when you have, you know, your morning sports report, who's usually going to be talking the NBA playoffs, try to cover Osaka and tennis, it's a bad look. It's a bad look all around.
Right.
So, I mean, it was ugly, and it happened again. It's just always something bad when tennis makes worldwide news that hits every network everywhere. It's never anything good, ever.
And the fact that it's shitted on, again, is similar to the conversation I had about the Williams sisters. When both of them were at the peak, were at their primes. You know, it's like they consider the shit. They be in the I guess the ATP. Is that for like the WTA?
ATP are the men, and the WTA.
The WTA, right?
Yeah.
So when they continue to shit on them, it's just okay. You do this to your superstars.
Yeah.
Usually it's the other way around. Usually they don't do that to your superstars. Yeah, except for Federer. But the point is, the WTA specifically shits on the superstars, so we have to be black, but they also have to be your superstars.
Well, and I know y'all know I'm a Federer fan, and I keep bringing him up. And I don't bring it up because I'm a fan. I bring it up because he is a white man, and they don't treat him that way. They don't, and they never will. They never, ever will. They're probably behind the scenes begging him not to retire, because they don't have anybody to fill his shoes. They really don't. When Serena leaves, Osaka's knocking on the door, but she's way far. She's way like 10 floors down.
Right.
You know, I mean,
Right.
she's young. She really hasn't been around a lot. And tennis is going to suffer big time when Roger and Serena leave. I think I said before, it's probably after the Olympics, but
Mhm.
Oh man, tennis is so ugh. But sometimes I wonder why I like this. I want to pull up that quote from Venus that you brought up because
I got it.
you
I
got
got
it.
it. I got it. Oh, I
Okay.
got it. I got it. I loved it.
Do it.
I hollered. I literally hollered when I read it.
So before you do this, can
Yeah.
we just say like the press hate the Williams sisters? They hate
Yes.
them.
Yes.
They
Oh, yeah.
absolutely hate them. And because they don't get what they want. There have been times where there was a so-called journalist who was impressed with Venus, did not ask her question, but didn't get the answer that she wanted, asked it again, trying to get a different answer. Venus basically said, no, this is it. And then wrote this entire piece on how shitty Venus was because she was bad in press. Like, but in this type of thing happens repeatedly to the Williams sisters, where they are written about unfairly or, you know, whatever. And then they wonder why they're not super friendly in the press room.
Yeah.
So then today this happened. Go ahead. Oh
Yes.
God, I love it.
So this is Dwayne. You're about to holler when I read this. So basically, Venus was brought like to any other tennis player. Naomi Osaka's name came up right after she lost her match today. So this is the first thing Venus Williams said, quote, yeah, it's definitely not easy to do press, I think, for any person. I don't remember the rest of the question, sorry. Question comes back again. How did you cope with it throughout your career? And if you sometimes felt that you had to do unnecessary efforts? This is a quote, ladies and gentlemen. For me personally, how I deal with it was that I know every single person asking me a question can't play as well as I can and never will. So no matter what you say or what you write, you'll never light a candle to me. So that's how I deal with it.
Don't you love her?
British people deals with it differently. She followed up with that, but each person deals with it differently. End of quote.
So,
I thought it was going to be the, you know, some people are thick, some people are skinny quote.
Oh, hell
I thought
no.
that was entertaining too.
She went for the juggler.
Venus,
she went for the juggler.
see that. Let me tell you something about Venus.
Oh, so that was Venus.
That's Venus. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry. That was Serena's quote of the some people are thick, some people are thin.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Gotcha. Venus.
Yeah.
Venus was cutthroat. Yeah.
Venus went for the juggler.
People think that Venus is nice and sweet.
She doesn't have to be now.
She's not. But the thing is she's cutthroat. But usually her work is done behind the scenes. You know, just like in all these other sports, we have this. Women need to be paid equally as men. We do, you know, we train as hard, blah, blah, blah. There are still a lot of tournaments that do not pay women as much as they pay men. Even if, you know, if they're sharing the time, it's not even a separate tournament. It was Venus who got prize money sorted out. It was her that pushed for this. You know, Andreen, y'all should have my co-host. I don't know if you could handle both of it at the same time. But I'll let you try it. But she brought up a good point too. You know, oftentimes when we see change, whether it be sport, politics, or whatever, it's the Black people that get it done. Right. It's the Black people that get it done. And let us not forget that Naomi Osaka shut tennis down last summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember that.
So she said, you know what? People are out here protesting. It was right after George Floyd was killed. And she said, this isn't my priority right now. I don't want to play today. So I'm going to remove myself from this tournament. And she did. Well, they didn't. That was for Cincinnati. That was Cincinnati and New York. So they didn't want to lose her. So they shut all of tennis down. Yep. So she did that. And then a couple weeks later, it's time for the US Open. And that's when Naomi Osaka showed up wearing a different dead Black person's name on her mask every game. Listen, tennis is afraid of Osaka. And I really think that the biggest thing that happened here was if they would have allowed her to not do press and to go ahead and pay her fine, she's already seen as a troublemaker because she's protested, right? So she sets the precedence and she opens the door for other people, because the press conference in itself is not as valuable as it used to be because of social media. We used to rely on the people in the room to get us the words from the athletes, but now it doesn't matter if you or I are in the room because the athletes are tweeting themselves all the time. You have a direct line to them to ask them questions. So, and you have people in the press conference tweeting out what's happening in the press conference immediately. So then nobody has to read what you're actually going to go write about. The press conference used
and Players
to serve,
Tribune too. Players Tribune too is good for that.
You know, so it's like you used to have to wait until the press conference was over, until the journalists wrote their pieces to find out the thoughts of the athlete. And really that's gone. That's gone. So the press conference, what the press conference really serves more now is for journalists and media coverage people, maybe like myself, who cannot request an interview with, say, Roger Federer and get it. But if I work for a major news outlet, if I work for ESPN, if I work for the New York Times, the LA Times, I may be able to request it and get a sit down with him. But just having that media credential gets me in the room. Otherwise, where I couldn't be. But you know what? I'm tweeting that shit out right away too. So
exactly.
I mean,
yeah.
You know, it doesn't serve the same process as it used to, or the same purpose. So I think that the sport and the journalists that cover the sport were feeling a little bit threatened. I really do. Because if Naomi Osaka says, I'm not going to do this, and she doesn't have to, other people are going to follow suit, because nobody does this in tennis. Serena was known to skip a presser. Venus will skip a presser. Djokovic skipped the presser when he hit the lady in the throat with the ball and got defaulted from the US Open. Yeah, he didn't go to press that day, you know, and they get their fines and they move on. But for the most part, even though everyone knows you get a fine if you don't show up, they show up. So if your top women's player in the world goes, not going to do it, other people are going to do that, and they don't want to do that. They don't want to do it.
Oh my God! And the way that that media is going right now, especially, it's not even not just press, but the way media is going now. Yeah, with cutbacks and everything. Now you have it so that athletes aren't coming out and doing interviews. I'd be concerned too. I'd be afraid too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and you know, honestly, it's just so. The media itself never gets to be in the spotlight, right? And they're in the spotlight right now. You shouldn't be. No, you shouldn't be. And that's happening. And I'm sure some people like that. I'm sure that they do. And as much as they didn't want to make this all about Osaka, well, now that's all it's going to be about. Every single person that walks in that room, tell me what you think about Naomi Osaka.
Yeah.
And that's going to continue for the next few days, if not the entire damn tournament.
Yeah.
So something that she tried to keep under wraps, gave you fair warning for, said, I'm not going to do this. Let's talk about it when it's done, has now become the center of attention. And now you're asking every player and their mama and their coach and their hitting partner and their physio what they think about what Naomi Osaka did. And they're not even asking the player about their own game again, because tennis is so good at that.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the way this tennis, the way it's going, you can tell me, Janine, because you're closer to this than I am. I'll be honest with you, I didn't know we had the FrenchOpen tournament until a few days ago. So I don't know if that's a lack of promotion. I don't know if it's people just don't give a damn, or
no, nobody. The French Open is stupid. Listen, Rafael Nadal has won the French Open 13 out of the last 14 tournaments. That's not exciting. you might be excited to watch history being made if it comes to the end and he's there again, but that's not exciting. ESPN has dropped the French Open coverage. No, nobody's covering it. You can only get it on Tennis Channel. Your local channels are going to pick up the very back end of the tournament. So you didn't know it was coming because it's not being advertised anywhere because nobody wants to broadcast it. You know,
this is one of the major tournaments and no one's covering it. It is
one of the big four.
Right.
Nobody, it's a shit tournament. It's shit. Okay. It's the Rafael Nadal Open. It was a shit tournament before that. Like years and years ago, it was better because, well, we talked about difference in surfaces and stuff. Clay used to be its own entity. Now there's hard courts that are very slow that play like clay. We used to have a true class of players who were clay court specialists. So it would be more exciting to watch this piece of the tournament where there's all these clay tournaments because you got to see people shine that weren't going to shine for the rest of the year. The French Open, and it still is for the women, was always kind of anybody's tournament. Anybody can win this. This is where people can squeak through that aren't stars and get a major. With Rafa on the men's side, that's not happening. I mean, the only other person to win the French Open since Rafa has been winning them all, Federer won one.
Right.
Wait, Stan Wawrinka won one sometime. Oh, and Novak. So regardless, Rafa has dominated this for over a decade. You know,
I mean, first came on the
scene. It's insane. On the women's side, you will get some outlier who will win and it'll be fun. And, you know, you get your Cinderella story that takes it all the way. That happens, but nobody cares about Paris anymore. They really don't. They really don't care about it. So that's why you didn't know it was happening. It's no longer being covered by the major sports networks at all.
Wow. So it's funny because that movie title now actually has meaning now. Forget Paris.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I could totally forget it.
But I also heard that the number 11 player on the women's side also pulled out as well.
So Petra Kvitova.
Yes.
You want to hear something funny? She got hurt.
Please.
She got hurt.
Press.
Yeah. So we have another person pulled out because of the press.
No, I heard it was press related. I didn't realize it was injury press related.
She fucking fell. She fell, like walking off the stage of I don't know what she did. But, you know, listen, some people would say that that's karma, that is a home wrecker. She's always up on somebody's husband. You know, Petra Kvitova, do you remember a couple years ago where she's a Czech player where she was stabbed? Someone broke into her apartment and stabbed her playing hand, her left hand. And she didn't know if she was ever going to play again because they cut like tendons, like major tendons. It was all very, very sketchy. And she had said that she thought it was the gas man, like somebody was coming in to check the meter and she let them in and then she was attacked. Never quite added up, ever. Yeah, that shit was shady. Some years later, some pieces of the truth was coming out. And once again, it sounds like Petra was messing with somebody's man.
Was she? Is she the tennis version of Megan Thee Stallion or something? What's going on?
No, she's real skinny. Like she always doesn't wear the right bra. So her titties are always bouncing all over crazy on court. It just is bad. I want to be like, honey, go talk to Serena because she has real boobs and she wears real bras. Dwayne, fix your face.
Oh, she said real boobs. Oh my God.
I mean,
my God.
But Petra has been painted into tennis sweetheart. Like the media loves her, so they say how wonderful and sweet she is. You know, she's nice. I've talked to her. She's plenty nice. But this, oh God, I mean,
it's kind of hard to be mean and steal people's men. I'm just saying.
Nobody talks about it though. This is the stuff that's whispered behind the scenes. You know, people, do you realize that the same journalists almost exclusively are in the room with the tennis players week in and week out, and they travel all around the world with them. So they do feel like they get friendly and they do learn things. And the journalist will never tell you the dirt, because then they might lose their access.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, I know plenty of dirt. Y'all want to talk off camera? I'll give it to you.
My God. If there's, Scott, that's one thing. You need to start getting into to press rooms, because there's nothing like press room scuttlebutt. Now, I don't know if I've been in as many press rooms as Janina, but when the press room scuttlebutt flow,
oh yeah,
it's
hilarious.
All of a sudden, somebody goes, "Are the mics on? Or are you recording right now? Oh, let me tell you this." And the shit flows. They will tell you some shit.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if I want to hear some gossip, or if I want to hear the lowdown on whatever athlete, A through Z.
Not just athlete. Not just
coaches,
athlete.
Other journalists.
Yes.
Wow.
All of it.
So just sit my ass in the room and just turn on the recorder, just chill out and just.
No. You need to make friends with somebody that's been there for a long time.
Well,
that's funny.
Well, or no, you can be. You can just smile. So sometimes, the first time I started getting scuttlebutt, it just happened to be I'm nice enough. I have a decent smile.
Yeah.
And you know, you strike up a conversation with a bunch of people, especially if you're in a room with a bunch of people who they happen to trust somebody. And what is going on outside my house? Are they shooting?
I know. God. They're shooting.
Well, I mean, I am in DC, but God.
Take cover.
Exactly, right? So, yeah, I just happened to be in the same room with a bunch of other people who trusted other people who they were in the room with. And the scuttlebutt started to flow. And I'm like, oh my God, I was not expecting to hit. And this is about people that you guys know, because they do national media now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You gotta tell us off camera.
Oh yeah.
Wow. That's funny as hell. Yo. That's crazy. So let's wrap this. Let's put this big ass red bow on this. So this is sad. You mentioned it earlier, Janina, off camera, how bad this is, this old French Open is, because Naomi Osaka's incident, well, I call it incident, it's the most interesting thing about it so far, despite the fact that Serena Williams in it, who's won early today, despite the fact that Coco Gauff won her earlier match, despite the fact that you have Federer, Rafa Nadal probably can win this on 1,000 French Open, because that's all he could do, and Novak is in it, and a few other people. People don't care about those folks. They care about what happened with
as far as the actual tennis, people are interested in Serena because we haven't seen her. Right. And she did try to play a warm-up tournament or something, and she lost real early. She's looking good. She lost a set today to, I don't even know who the hell she was playing. I don't know who this woman was. And I was at work and I'm like trying to sneak stream it on my phone, you know, because I mean, that's what you do when you have a real day job. You got to find a way to watch your sports, right?
Right.
So, but she looks good. She looks really fit. Play's not her best surface, but she does have 3 French Open titles. So, you know, and a lot of the top seeds are already out. So she has her path to the final is quite clear right now. People are excited to see Roger Federer. We've not seen Federer play in like a year almost. He played a couple warm-up tournaments, really small tournaments. He didn't play any of the big stuff that most of the names play. And he lost early. He's only played 1 match. His opponent was Istomin, who is a veteran on the tour, decent player. Federer looked like he was fucking 25 and floating. He looked beautiful. Like everybody was like, holy shit. And, you know, I remember I tweeted out, I was like, Federer looked phenomenal, but let's see how his form holds up against a more formidable opponent. You know, so we'll see what that looks like. Rafa, so the French Open this year is doing night tournaments. They've never done that. This is the first year. Play in Paris usually stops when it gets dark because they don't have lights on the stadium. So for some reason, that was part of the uniqueness of the French Open.
Turn your damn
For
lights
some
on.
reason, they didn't even have them. They didn't have them to turn on.
Oh my
So
God.
they've been doing a lot of renovating, and they now have lights, and they're working on getting a roof because, you know, it's rainy in Paris in the spring, and they're the only Grand Slam tournament left that doesn't have a roof on at least one stadium. So here's the thing, COVID is really bad in Paris right now. There is a very strict 9 o'clock curfew. Well, the night session, it starts at 9 o'clock. Most night sessions in every other tennis tournament in the world, and I'm not exaggerating, starts at 7. It's 7 o'clock. For some reason, Paris is doing 9. Nobody's there. So I guess today was Rafa's birthday, or maybe it's tomorrow, and he's the night session. So nobody's
gonna be there for his birthday.
And he
happy birthday to you, homie.
Listen, he always celebrates his birthday in Paris. It's always a big deal, and nobody's going to be there. Serena played the first ever night match. Her first match was Monday night, I think it was, or Sunday, I don't know, whatever. She was the first person ever to get that Monday night slot, which I'm sure she wasn't happy about because she likes early slots so that she can go home, be with her kid and her hubby, and you know, do mommy things. But yeah, nobody's there because they're not making exceptions. So the stands are empty. Wow. I mean, all you have to do is push it up 2 hours and then usher people out if you have to. The Australian Open had to do that at when they had a COVID uptick during the tournament, so they enacted a curfew mid-tournament. So come 11 o'clock, if the curfew was 12, they was like, you got to go regardless of play. They'd be playing and like, you got to get out, you got to go home, but you got to get the fuck out of here. And they made them leave. But no, Paris decides to start their night session, you know, at the start of curfew. Listen, they do shit fucked up in Paris every year, something stupid.
Well,
something's dumb. So yeah, Rafa, he's gonna play in front of no one for his birthday match. I'm sure they'll get him a cake. It'll be nice.
Something tells me you don't give a fuck and you're laughing at this.
Just care.
Listen, he looks good, minus his hair. You know, Rafa got hair plugs, and they're already failing him. It looks so bad. He should probably shave it bald.
Just go ahead,
come on home,
please.
Yes,
please. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah,
he needs to just
join us.
He needs to embrace it and let it go. So other than this, because when it gets wet and sweaty, oh my god, and then it's just like all over me. You know, it's so bad. It's so bad.
Oh
but he
my
looks
god!
Good. His arms are looking buff and big, and he looks, you know, he looks good in that way. He's like a butterface.
He's a wow. Golly, he's a butterface. Oh my god! This reminds me of the one you weren't on this last 2 years ago when I was talking to her on, like, we were doing audio. This is the first time I heard anyone on the podcast refer to someone else as a cock.
A what?
Somebody.
Why are you bringing up old shit?
Because you followed it up with a butterface. So before butterface came cock. He called someone a cock.
I mean, I vaguely remember it. I'm sure it was Novak.
Yeah, I'm sure it was Novak too. I'm pretty sure it was. You're not a fan of his. But anyway, that's hilarious.
I mean, were you guys going to podcast some more after me? Because I feel like I've done the whole show.
No, it's fine. We're going to do different segments. So it's all good. Hey, look, we can talk to this with you all night. You know this.
Yeah, and I'm glad because I've learned something, and it actually makes me apologize for my stance that I made yesterday on my other podcast. Because basically my whole stance was both sides need to do something in order to appease both places so that they can go ahead and come to common ground and play tennis, right? I didn't realize things were being done, and you know, the governing bodies were just like, fuck it. Nah.
Yeah.
Because the way that it was explained to me was that they reached out to Naomi and her people just brushed them off.
No.
See, so yeah, okay.
Dwayne, why didn't you come to me?
because I knew my hope was that I would speak to you today. That's why. So I was like, ooh, I can't wait, man. Scott, come through, Scott.
Yes.
Okay. So
I never disappoint.
I was like, oh, hey, never. Thank you.
I never disappoint. And you know what? The beautiful part about a major 20s tournament is you get to see her ass back next week.
I mean, I'll be here.
Mm-hmm. I'm pointing.
We'll be here. We'll be here to talk about Rafa and how great he's doing.
My man Rafa. Woo! All right. Well, hey, it's just you brought it again, sis. Thanks again.
Thanks for having
us
me.
Your tennis knowledge.
I appreciate it.
I'll be watching this week, and I'll be thinking of you and laughing at this mask off at the same time. So thanks again for that.
All right. Good night, guys.
Take care. Welcome back to the Clown Hour. We're going to talk some NBA right quick. First of all, before I do, props to Janina. She brings it every single time with tennis. Love having her on. I can't imagine a world with this podcast without her. Tennis time when it comes to the four major ones: French Open, Wimbledon, U.S. Open, and Australian Open. So good stuff as always from her. We're going to transition to the NBA. We've got some NBA playoff games going on tonight. My Knicks are getting the asses kicked right now. Your beloved Wizards, unfortunately, was eliminated tonight.
Oh, so they lost? Okay. Well,
yeah.
all right.
So Phillies in the second round. They're going to probably all likely to face Atlanta in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
So good for Nick McMillan, head coach of the Atlanta Hawks, for scheming and making my Knicks and especially Julius Randle look very ordinary. But the good news of that is that means at least we don't have to worry about paying Julius Randle max money, because he's lost a whole lot of money in this playoff series. Mm-hmm. A whole lot of money. So that could be a good thing too. But anyway, so right now, the way we have it looking at right now is I think the best series is going to be, as this player so far, it's going to be Milwaukee and Brooklyn.
Okay.
Because keep in mind, people forget that Milwaukee owned the season series with Brooklyn. Mm-hmm. However, the playoffs are much different. As it's saying in the Atlanta, New York series, because New York during the regular season swept them. Mm-hmm. And now they're thumping our asses as we speak. They're up double digits right now in the Garden. So they're probably going to win this thing in 5 in the gentleman's sweep. So much for that Knicks in 7 prediction. But anyway, I just want to hear from you in your own words about. We're focusing these comments right now. I think the East is more, to me, is exciting as hell, because you have 3 teams that could legit win the East. Yeah, 2 of them are going to play each other in the next round.
Mm-hmm. And I completely agree with you. The thing is, and it's talked about, but the thing is, you don't necessarily know it's going to be the case until it actually happens. Right. And it's something that has shown its face, especially in the Eastern Conference, throughout the first round. Experience matters. Mm-hmm. With the Miami Heat, though, you would have expected a little bit more from them, but they've been a little off and on all season long, and they've been dealing with injuries. And for once, Milwaukee showed themselves to be the better team in a series, even though they've come in at higher seeds twice in 2 previous playoffs and didn't look like it. Mm-hmm. So thankfully, with them having that extra experience and also that extra player of Drew Holiday has paid dividends for them in the first round. Same thing could be said about the Brooklyn Nets. Even though Boston has made several runs at the Eastern Conference Championship round, they came up short this year because, once again, they didn't look up to snuff throughout the entire season. They've dealt with injuries. Brooklyn, of course, has a lot of talent on that squad. They actually looked and played that part, and that's what made them advance. But when you talk about the whole Atlanta-New York series and the Philadelphia-Washington series in terms of lack of experience, it showed for Washington and New York in spades. I was hoping for a little bit more out of the unexperienced players in Washington, players outside of Russell Westbrook and Bradley Beal, but there were even times in which they looked average, but it just didn't happen. and then you add on to that the fact that they weren't getting great play out of the two of them, and then you lose Davis Bertans for game 5 as well. Yeah. This is what you get, a gentleman's sweep. And then the same thing with the New York Knicks. If you would have told me that Julius Randle would be averaging 8 points less per game in this first round of the playoffs than he was during the regular season, I will be completely shocked. Mm-hmm. The same thing can be said about RJ Barrett, who is averaging 4 points less per game in the playoffs than in the regular season as well. You take those 12 points for a team that's lost by an average of less than 7 points per game for games 1 and 3. Maybe the series will be completely different, right? Mm-hmm. But, you know, they just can't seem to get great play or at least what they got out of those two guys in the regular season now. And guess who's leading that team in points per game? The heavily experienced Derrick Rose, which it shouldn't be the case. He's just supposed to be, he's supposed to be there because he has experience, but he shouldn't be leading the squad in points per.
No, exactly. He's not the best player. Julius Randle's supposed to be their best player.
Exactly.
He's not playing like it.
Yeah, but they're leaning on him. He's leading the team. I don't know exactly what's going on right now, but I'm guessing probably the same thing is going on right now. And if what quarter is the game in right now?
It's the fourth quarter. And
fourth quarter?
They're up. I took away from it. I'm watching Memphis and Utah now. They're up 89-73. They be in Atlanta.
Oh, so they're up 16 right now in the fourth quarter.
It's over. It's under 6 minutes left to play in the game. It's over.
Yeah, and the way that they've been playing the entire series, unless somehow, some way, the New York Knicks of the regular season decides to make an appearance, plays tough defense and hits threes, they're not going to come back in this game, and they're going to end up losing the series. And that's exactly why they're currently behind 3-1 right now. It's because they haven't been doing what they've been doing during the regular season.
Now they're up by 19. It's over.
It's over. Now you have 19.
Julius Randle has 20 points with 7 of 19 shooting.
I'll say this: at least he has 20 because he was averaging less than 20, but he's shooting 7 for 19. Yeah, you can't have an outing like that in respect to pull it out unless you get help from everybody else. Yeah, he's having a decent game, so he's making a game out of it. But you know, you're really going to need help from everybody else, and it's not happening. So
and it's not happening because Bullock has 12, is on the floor right now. Quickly has only 11. Derrick Rose had only 6. He was your leading scorer,
and he was your leading scorer with 6. Yeah,
RJ Barrett's 3 of 10 from the field with 12 points.
Another one. Yeah.
Meanwhile, Trae Young, his game is off 7 of 23 for 25 points. But guess what? Clint Capella's 14 points, 14 rebounds. Collins kid from Virginia, I think he played at. He has 13 points, 6 rebounds on 5 of 9 shooting. DeAndre Hunter has 15 points on 6 of 10 shooting. So in other words, dude has help.
Yeah, he has a lot of help.
Yeah.
And they're shooting great from the field as well. So that's it. It's easy. You're not sitting here scratching your head wondering why the teams that are out of the first round in the Eastern Conference are out, because it speaks volumes.
Well, I would say this though. I don't never had a problem with the Atlanta Hawks franchise, and I still don't have a problem with them. But I do love good shit talk, and I do appreciate it. When Clint Capella said last night that in so many words, after someone asked about the Knicks' toughness, we can play tough too. And the last thing he said was, guess what? We're going to send them home.
Ooh.
We're going to send them home.
All right, Clint Capella.
And so basically, someone asked Julius Randle this earlier today, and he was like, well, who? Next question. Who? He was terse. He's like, why would I care about anything what Clint Capella says?
Great rebound. But
he's right. They're whipping that ass.
But they're
whipping that ass. And it should have, if you really think about it, it should have been a sweep. Because they're winning for that last-minute defensive effort in the late third and throughout the fourth quarter. Atlanta would have won that game. They were winning big earlier.
Yeah.
The beautiful part about a best of 7 series is the better team almost always win.
Yeah.
Almost always wins, because I say that because back in 1990, whatever the hell it was, when those fucking Heat teams, when one of those teams, when they caused a big brawl with my Knicks, when PJ Brown decides to suplex Charlie Ward and caused Patrick Ewing to come off the bench and had them suspended for game 6, where we could have clinched it.
Yeah.
The Knicks were obviously the better team. We're up 3-1. We would have clinched the game. But anyway, that's beside the point. The point is, in Miami ended up winning that series because of the suspensions. But the point is that usually the better team wins. So Atlanta's just better than we are. They have more scoring. The guys show up. They coach circles around. As much as I love Coach Thibodeau, the coach he's trying to his establishment on the defensive end. They are what they are. They don't adjust. Atlanta, led by Nick McMillan, I bet Indiana's still sorry that they fired him for some loser that they're going to fire anyway, probably. He adjusted. He looked at the tape, noticed why the Knicks swept them, the Hawks in the regular season, said, we're going to change it up and do this. We're going to build a wall, in a sense, kind of like the Giannis treatment. Build a wall down low, make Julius Randle and company beat us from the outside.
Yeah.
And they can't keep without scoring. And that's what happened. Gentlemen sweep all the way. So I must say this. That's going to be, especially if Joel Embiid for Philly has to be out a little longer, if he's a little bit ginger on his knee, gimpy. This might be a hell of a series with Atlanta. Atlanta's a great surprise.
They are. And one of the things, of course, that the 76ers will have issues with, of course, is the play of Ben Simmons. As good as he is, he can be spotty at times. And that's all it takes is a moment here and a moment there. And if you could take advantage of those moments and prove to be dominant in at least a game, you can make it a series.
Right.
You really can. And that's the thing that we haven't seen from Atlanta so far in this series against the Knicks, is that they haven't made mistakes. And if they can go ahead and continue to play or keep their mistakes down to a minimum against Philadelphia, especially if Embiid has to be out a game or two, they can go ahead and take advantage of that situation and then have a puncher's chance in that series.
Yeah. So having said all that, I know I'm not the first person to say this probably, but I believe it. I think whoever wins the Bucks in that series is going to win the whole damn thing.
Yeah.
They're the two best teams, man.
Yeah, I felt the same way when the playoffs started.
Yeah, no disrespect to Philly, but they're better than Philly. Both of them are.
Yeah.
And I love the way Milwaukee's playing with the addition. I love the addition of Drew Holiday. He's helped them a lot.
A whole lot.
A lot. So it sucks that they get the draw with Brooklyn in the conference semifinals, but the point is they're the two best teams. It sucks that they're facing each other this early in the playoffs. It should be some result for the conference championships, but whoever wins that wins the whole thing, because I think both teams are better than Philly. I think both teams are better than Utah. I think both teams are better than the Clippers. I think both teams are better than the Lakers. Speaking of the Lakers.
Well, they don't have to worry about being better than the Lakers, but go ahead.
Because they won't be there.
Might not be there.
Yeah, exactly. So pretty much is game 6 going to be, is this series over with? Because I know it's game 5 of best of 7, but they lost by 30. They being the Lakers lost by 30 to the Suns. And Anthony Davis probably is not going to be walking through that door for game 6 either. So it's going to be LeBron and a bunch of ragtag tomato cans out there going up against a highly motivated Chris Paul, a really motivated Devin Booker, and a rejuvenated Ayton. So Ayton is a big dude. I didn't realize he was that big. It talks like this, looks like an old man. But I mean, he's a big young man. He's 7 feet tall. He's 270.
Something like that,
thick. Getting some his man muscles in. He sees something. And he's playing well in his first playoff appearance. He's balling. So
but you know what?
Go ahead.
It's because he doesn't have to take on the brunt of him being the focus of that team. because, of course, Chris Paul and Devin Booker take that pressure off of him. Plus, they have other veterans, including Jay Crowder, on that organization that can do that for him.
3D, yeah.
And he has to do is just go out there and be him, and that's what makes this easier for him.
Yeah. And so I look at LeBron's squad. I mean, hell, they fucked up with Montrezl Harrell. You think they need him right now?
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
I mean, he's in the dog for whatever reason, but Marc Gasol can't stick with those guys with their foot speed. They put him in high pick and roll. He's on skates.
Yeah.
And plus, look, they missed the big athletic big men they had last year. JaVale McGee, he's goofy, but he can move.
He can move. Same thing with Dwight Howard. Yeah.
He can move. They're both goofy as hell, but they can move and play good defense and give you some valuable minutes. They don't have that. I mean, Drummond, he's a nice player, but he's not smooth with his feet.
No.
He's a clodder. So this is it. I'm gonna say, fuck it. I'm gonna say it. This is it. This is it. I know maybe personal the moment from last night's 30-point beatdown. I don't see how any way LeBron, sans Anthony Davis will survive Game 6. I don't care if it's at home or not. It's over. It's over. The first time since I think the Sixers in the 80s, as a team who won the title the previous year gets bounced in the first round because the New Jersey Nets, they beat them in 5 in 1983, 84 season. They beat them in 5. I remember that because I was a big Dr. J fan. And I was mad because, I mean, it's New Jersey Nets. I didn't like anything from New Jersey, being a Knicks fan, but even though I was a little kid. But the point is, they won the first 2 in Philly. They lost the next 2 in New Jersey. This is best of 5.
Yeah.
And then the road team won every game in the series. New Jersey ended up winning Game 5 in Philly. And, they bounced out in the first round. So this is going to happen with Phoenix. Phoenix is good. It's a bad matchup. I thought that the lack of experience would give the Lakers the edge over Phoenix.
That's what I thought too.
That's not the case. Phoenix is balling.
Yeah.
They're balling. And they've been underdogs. They were the underdogs before
they were the underdogs.
They're the higher seed, 2 and 7 seed. But it's good. It's good for Phoenix because I love Chris Paul. He doesn't get his just due. I really love Devin Booker. Not everyone's now getting to see Devin Booker.
Yes. Yes.
Basically.
And really much so because they're playing against the LA Lakers. Right. Yeah. If they were playing against Utah, if they were playing against Portland, we wouldn't be able to get him this. We wouldn't get to see him as much as we do now. Right. But hey, thank you, LeBron. You've introduced another quality player to NBA fans if they had no idea who he was coming into the series.
Yeah. So there you go. And speaking of series, Utah is beating the brakes off of Memphis. They're up 19. And it's not even the end of the first quarter yet. So
Lord Jesus, they're up 19. Let's go ahead and say a word for them.
Yeah, it's
all right.
It's a wrap.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be Utah and whoever comes out of decides to come out of the Clippers and
Dallas
Mavericks series, which the Clippers should be this series should have been about to be over.
It should have been. Yeah.
But at least they're getting their heads together. They get their heads out of their asses in time.
Yeah, Dallas allowed them to come back in Game 3, and then they dogged them in Game 4. And Luka Doncic dealing with that neck strain is going to be an issue, especially if he can't seem to get it handled within the next couple of games.
Right.
So that's going to be very telling. They play tonight or they play tomorrow.
They're playing tonight. They play
tonight. Game 5 is going to be very telling.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to be a pivotal game, but it's going to be, in my opinion, the game that decides who ends up winning the series. Whoever wins tonight wins the series.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm totally disregarding the West. I was totally disregarding the West because I think the best team's on the East.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like I said again, I think whoever wins, Milwaukee, Brooklyn, Bucks, Nets, they'll win the whole thing. I'm more sure of it now than ever. All right.
You're predicting the East Coast champion. Wow.
There you go. Okay. I put the champions going to come out the East. Meanwhile, the Hawks, I'm towing the volume because they're faithful is cheering on the Knicks, even though we're getting beat by 12 points with under a minute left.
That's cool of them. Yeah.
It's cool because this has been a successful season.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what anybody says. No one expected us to be here.
No.
No one expected the Hawks to be here, to be fair. So
it's a huge step forward for both organizations for them to come into the playoffs as the 4th and 5th seeds, respectively. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I applaud the both of them for the year that they've given.
They have none to be. New York has none to be ashamed of. No one expected them to be here.
No.
No one.
Mm-hmm.
So it's cool. But anyway, all right. This brings us to an HBCU segment where we wrap up all things sports all the time because no one else is talking about it. That's where we come into play. So always some good stuff there. So Dwayne, this is your wheelhouse. Please bless us with your HBCU knowledge as you do week after week after week. All
right. This week's going to be a little lengthy because there's been a lot of things going on in HBCU sports, especially in one particular sport. In one sport in particular. But first and foremost, let me start off. There was a death in the HBCU world. Grady Brewer, the former head coach at Morehouse men's basketball, unfortunately passed away this past weekend due to illness. 21 years there at Morehouse. Had 7 20-win seasons, well over 300 wins within his career. Westhead also had 7 regular season championships in the SIAC, 1 conference tournament championship, and also 3 Division II NCAA tournament appearances. So my condolences go out to the Brewer family and also to the family, the Morehouse Tiger family as well, in the passing of Grady Brewer. The sport that I was talking about in the beginning is outdoor track and field. The championships are approaching for Division I, but the NAIA and the Division II ranks had their championships this past weekend, and there were some champions from the HBCU level. So starting with the NAIA, congratulations to Dillard University for winning the men's 4x1 relay. And in second place in that same relay was Florida Memorial. Both of them ran times of under 41 seconds. And also coming away with a podium appearance is Xavier's Jeffrey Frazier, who came in third place in the triple jump. On the Division II level, Benedict's Shamar Miller, who's a sophomore, won the triple jump, actually had a season best jump within the triple jump. And then also from Lincoln University in Missouri, Kaizon David came in second, won the silver and the long jump. And Miss Krisani May came in third in the women's 800. So congratulations to those individuals on the NAIA and Division II levels for walking away with their individual championships in their respective events. Now, with the big dogs, my God, this weekend, oh man, I sound like my boy T the Track guy. If you've seen us on Instagram, you know I got my man T on there who gives us his insight on track and field. I watched very little basketball this weekend because of the outdoor track and field championships, I have to say. And I was rewarded, especially from the East prelims. Now, to break it down, the Division I, before you move on to the national championships in Eugene, Oregon, they have the Eastern and Western prelims for so they can qualify to move on to the national championships. Now, with the majority of the HBCUs being in the East, that was the one that I focused on more. But the Texas institutions were all in the Western. So I'll get to that in just a moment, why that's significant. Out of all of the HBCU athletes that participated, 33 total will be advancing on to Eugene to participate for national championship.
32 teams?
33 individuals.
Individuals, got it. Okay.
Yeah, 33 individuals, with A&T leading the pack with 18. So yeah, they have well over half of the individuals going there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and shout out to Coppin Howard, and Norfolk State that all have 4 individuals advancing on to Eugene as well. Florida A&M, Prairie View A&M, Texas Southern, and Tennessee State also have someone representing them as well, moving on to Eugene.
Awesome.
Now, here's some highlights from this past weekend, starting with the women. Cambria Sturgis, sophomore from North Carolina A&T. My God, blew away the field in the women's 100, setting a personal and season best, and also a facility record in the women's 100. Also came in first in the women's 200 and was part of the women's 4x1 and 4x400 teams that advanced to Eugene. Also coming from North Carolina A&T, freshman Javante Harding came in second place in the men's 100, did extremely well in the men's 200, and also was a member of A&T's 4x100 team. Sophomore Randolph Ross, who is the son of Coach Dwayne Ross from North Carolina A&T, did extremely well. He came in second place in the men's 400, and he was also a member of the men's 4x1 and 4x4 teams. And my man Joseph Amoa out of Compton State, who's a senior, won the men's 100, and I think he came in second or third in the men's 200 dash as well, with remarkable times. So shout outs to them. And then, like I said before, those 2 relay teams on the men's side for A&T, the 4x1 that came in first place set a season best record, and also they had a season best record time, that is, of 38:54 for the 4x1. But my God, Scott, that 4x4 relay team was extremely dominant. They ran a time of 2 minutes, 59.21 seconds. That outdid the second place team by 6 seconds.
Damn.
And I'm not talking about
for those of you who don't know anything about track and field, 6-second differential is an ass whooping.
Put it in perspective, football players run the 40 in about 5 seconds.
Right.
So to beat someone, that's like a 55-meter separation.
Yeah. From
the person who came in first and the team that came in second. So yeah, not only did they run that incredibly fast time, that was the 3rd fastest time, I think, all time in that event. They set a season best, a facility record, and now they have the best time in college right now, running the 4x400. And that team was so hot that the lights went out in the arena after they ran their race. Wow. I am not lying, Scott. It was, I thought something was wrong with my internet. No, they just ran the lights out in that gym. That's awesome. Or I'm sorry, out in that track. So yeah, that was insane. So good luck to all of the kids going on to Eugene next weekend. And the biggest news in HBCU sports since I last spoke to you, McCord Maker has declared for the 2021 NBA draft. Yep. Now, mind you, he won't sign with the agent, so that keeps his options open of returning to Howard for a sophomore season. Now, he only played 2 games this past year. Right. Both of them losses. One of them to a Division II school. Yeah. But he averaged under 12 points a game, 6 rebounds and 2 assists. Now, the thing that kind of concerns me with this move was around the time when he made the announcement that he was going to Howard, I had concerns of whether or not he was going to be a one and done. There were even people who thought he might be a one and done. And if you remember, I had to rewatch it today, doing his interview on First Take on ESPN, Max Kellerman even asked him about it. He basically said, in this era of one and dones, if you have a lot of success, would you go pro? His response was, let me see, if you're a one and done talent, why not leave? My ultimate goal is to play in the NBA. If it takes me a year, I'm all in for it. I know I'm NBA lottery talent. If I have a good year, I'm definitely out. And this was an interview that he had with First Take.
He was honest.
Yeah, less than a year ago. But this is the same dude that also said, he's looking to make the HBCU movement real, and I want to change the culture. I think it's kind of hard to change the culture in a situation when you're doing a one and done, right, especially in a year when you're doing a one and done and you only played 2 games of basketball, 1 because you're injured, 2 because the entire program shut their season short due to COVID issues.
Yep.
So I mean, man, I'm rooting for the gentleman. I am. I just wish that his time would have been a whole lot longer there at Howard, so that this movement can actually go on. Now, mind you, it has paid dividends. Not only were there other players to come play for other HBCUs in the on the D1 ranks, especially with Shaquille O'Neal's son. I think it's Shakir O'Neal that's going to Texas Southern. He's going to have a great time down there in Houston. Master P's son going over to Tennessee State. We've also had head coaches hired since his signing on to Howard, with Mike Williams going on to Alabama State. Of course, Deion Sanders over at Jackson State, and of course Eddie George over at Tennessee State on the football side. So there has been a movement going on. There is talent coming, and I'm happy to see it. You know, I just wish that these kids will be able to stay around long enough, man, to actually have an HBCU experience instead of just coming and moving on. Because I really do feel bad for McCord. He never really got an HBCU experience. He never got a Howard experience. No homecoming. He rarely, if ever, was on campus to take classes. So yeah, man, he missed out on the fine honeys. Never got a chance to go to Georgia Avenue to get him some wings with some mumbo sauce. Go to that McDonald's over there on Georgia Ave. He just missed out, man. So you know, I'm hoping the best for him. I don't know if he necessarily becomes a lottery pick, because there's been a lot of great play from players that actually played this past winter. Yeah. But you know, whatever happens, man,
he won't be a lottery pick.
Whatever he chooses to do is hey, I wish him the best. I'm just disappointed.
Yeah, I think something tells me I wouldn't be shocking because he didn't hire an agent. It won't be shocking if he decides to come back because he only played a game.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to evaluate him because, again, to your point, he had a lot of great players play last year. And led by Cade Cunningham. So, I mean, it's Cade Cunningham, everybody else. And there's a lot of talented players.
Yeah.
It's going to go ahead of him. So we'll see about that.
But you know what, real quick, Scott, you know, he was considered to be a lottery pick coming out of high school.
High school, right.
And you can't forget the fact that he is a stretched power forward. He's 6'11". He can handle the rock. He has a J.
Yeah.
The boy is nasty. The thing is, though, you know, will people take into consideration what happened to him at Howard or not?
Right.
And then, you know, how good of a workout will he have when he is going through whatever he's the process right now, working out for these teams. Because remember, that's what happened to Kwame Brown. No one knew about this dude. He was coming out of high school, and he was dominating pro players in workouts. And that's why he went first overall. But, you know, it only time will tell. And we'll end up finding out once the draft comes around.
Speaking of Deion Sanders, did you catch him on IAMATHLETE podcast?
Now, I didn't know you were going to go to that, but I'm glad that you did, because I actually caught some of it. And I had some shots yesterday for Channing Crowder, and I got still more in the clip for Channing Crowder right now. Oh my God.
Go ahead, elaborate.
So you watched it, right? So you
I watched the whole thing. Yeah.
This is the second time Channing Crowder has gone in on HBCUs and talked about how, you know, a gentleman like himself who went to the University of Florida, and how going to a Power 5 conference school will give you a better opportunity to make it to the NFL than going to an HBCU. Now, I will say this, right? He is right about that, right?
Yes.
Because unfortunately, and that's something that I've been talking about for well over a year now, unfortunately, NFL scouts are lazy.
Yeah. That's what Fred Taylor said that.
Exactly.
Fred Taylor said that.
I was like,
I thought about you. I thought about you when he said that. I thought about you.
Oh man, the questions and some of the comments that Fred Taylor made, I thought he may have been watching me for the past year. Because I'm like, dude, you're saying the same things I've been saying, and people kind of chuckled at me, with the exception of you, because you're smart too. And you know, I've been saying these things, and people are like, what do you mean they're lazy? Duh. Look at the numbers. It basically constitute this. But Channing Crowder, my God, like I said, I still got more in the clip for you. I ain't done. When you said what you said, the first thing I thought about was the performance of the A&T's 4x4 track team.
Yeah.
And the fact that not only did they beat the times of those schools that are in Power 5 conferences, they ran the same heat as them. University of Florida was in the heat with them.
Mm-hmm.
Georgia was in the heat. There were several Power 5 conference teams in their heat. Now, I know they didn't win the national championship from that race, but they look to be favored to do so. So unless something drastic happens, they look to be favored to win the national championship in the 4x4. And they're probably going to beat other Power 5 conference teams in order to do so. But the thing that I was also thinking about was, I was like, okay, yes, sure. There are a lot of guys that are drafted out of, Power 5 schools, especially the University of Florida. But how well are they actually doing in the NFL right now? Right. So I went to my handy dandy notebook for all my Blues Clues fans out there. And I went ahead and I checked and I did some research, right? I went back through the books and I checked going back to the year in which Channing Crowder was drafted, right? Which is 2005.
Right.
And I said, okay, out of all these guys drafted since 2005 from the University of Miami, how many is that? It's well over 130, right? So I was like, okay, out of all of those 130 guys, how many Pro Bowl appearances? Out of 130 guys, it was 30 appearances, 9 of them for one guy, your man out of Pittsburgh, Pouncey. Yep. I'm like, okay, and then of course another man that plays for Pittsburgh as well has a lot of appearances too. That would be Joe Hayden.
That's right.
You know who has 3 appearances on there, according to ProFootballReference.com? Cam Newton. Where did Cam Newton graduate school from?
Auburn.
But of course, being that he spent some time in Florida, they also have him listed as a Florida alum. So you can go ahead and scratch one name off of that total of Florida players that were drafted. And then, of course, you can scratch off those total number of players that went to All-Star game or to Pro Bowls as well, right? And that's not including probably other players that transfer from Florida that have Florida in their books. But I digress about that. I'll still give you your 130, right? So of those 130, guess how many first-team All-Pro selections out of that 130?
What's that?
2.
Just 2.
One of them going to Cam Newton.
Wow.
You know who else has 2 first-team All-Pro appearances in 3 seasons of playing in the NFL?
I'm thinking Pouncey.
No. I'm actually thinking someone from the HBCU ranks.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What's this?
Yeah, that would be Darius Leonard. Straight out the mud, out there in Orangeburg, South Carolina, coming out of South Carolina State. One player, 3 years, 1 more All-Pro appearance than 130 Bamas. That's why we're saying, if you give these guys an opportunity to go to an HBCU, coaches be damned, facilities be damned. They still churn out talent in spite of Channing Crowder, in spite of everything that you said that you get at the University of Florida. That don't make you a dog. One dog out of South Carolina State University is putting up the numbers of 130 men. And I'm not even getting to Ron Arms. She look at me. I'm so excited. I forgot the boy's name. Teron Armstead out of the Saints, and also, of course, Tariq Cohen. And that's also not talking about the other guys that played during that same time frame in which you were in the league too, Channing, like a Michael Strahan, who was in the Pro Bowl in 2005.
Yep.
Like Antoine Bethea, that made it to several Pro Bowls himself. Like Dominique Rogers Cromartie that also made it to a couple of Pro Bowls. So yes, less guys that have as many, if not more, accolades as your University of Florida brethren. So yes, how good really was your experience, other than the fact that it gets you drafted? Yeah, you can get drafted. That's cool. That's fine and dandy. But how long do you stick in the league, and what do you do once you get into the league? Just because you there, just because you got all that stuff, don't make you a meaner dog, dude. It don't. Right. And that's one of the few things I actually agree with Prime. Hey, he said it during the show too. Hey, you get them guys to come here, HBCU numbers will go up too. It's just the fact that they're not going there. And then the whole exposure thing, that's a whole nother conversation for another time. But like I've always been saying, hey, if these GMs will stop being lazy.
Fred Taylor, thank you for that.
Put your work in.
Who went to Florida, by the way, as well.
Who went to Florida, by the way.
Yeah.
Put your work in. Draft these guys, you know, or don't. Bring them in as undrafted free agents. Give them an opportunity. They'll show you that they're dogs and that they can play. So I mean, it's fine. And then you get drafted, but what are you doing? Like my man T said yesterday, it's the Janet Jackson effect. What have you done for me lately, dog? And out of your 130 players, you're not impressed with me at all, dude.
Yeah.
One dude by himself outdoing your 130.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for saying that shit, because I was thinking about you that entire clip when Fred Taylor went to the mat, because this boy, I forget his name, who's now scouting the Las Vegas Raiders. Whenever he comes back, he's a Florida State alum. When he goes back to Tallahassee to scout Florida State, he sneaks over to FAMU to scout their guys. It's a matter.
Just go and go, yeah.
Just go. They're right across the train tracks from each other.
Right across the train tracks from one another, yes.
So it's a matter of doing the work.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, I think Fred Taylor mentioned allocating some money, for not even a lot of money, because it's about just, like you said, and like he said, scouts are just being lazy.
No, you know what, Scott? It's not even the scouts. The scouts are there.
Okay.
The scouts show up. It's the GMs and the owners that won't take the chance. These scouts are telling them about these guys, and they're saying, hey, these guys. And owners and GMs are like, but I don't know who they are. Let me take this guy who I don't know, and let me go ahead. Let me take this guy who I do know, who I've seen on TV, or his team has played on TV. I'll draft that dude instead. And if that dude is available, we'll go ahead and bring him in during college free agent workouts, or bring him in as an undrafted free agent. Mm-hmm. So yeah, the scouts are putting in work. It's God. When I first saw that last year in an article that they don't trust these guys, that's more of a personal issue. So yeah, even with me,
scouts,
no, they don't trust the players because they don't get it. The claim is, with the inability to meet some of these guys face to face because of COVID, they don't know if they can necessarily trust these guys to bring these guys in to their organization. Yeah, they're interviewing these guys via phone calls and being Zoom meetings and all of this stuff. But for whatever reason, there's something about them relying on this face-to-face for some of them, so they're saying, for the reason why they go ahead and get these guys. But I'm starting to lean on the fact that it's a trusted entity, because they see these guys, or they know that this dude played on a school that plays on TV.
Right.
And oh my God, I know it's not all TV, because all of these guys aren't playing on TV on a regular basis.
Trey Lance didn't play on TV.
Who is that?
Trey Lance didn't play on TV.
Trey Lance did not play on.
The number 3 pick in the draft. Number 3 pick in the draft. From FCS, the same level that Prime is, that Alcorn is, that the rest of SWAC is, or where the MEAC is, or where A&T is, where Hampton is. The same level.
The same level.
You got the number 3 pick of the draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Case fucking closed.
Exactly, right? So and then my other exhibit is the fact that everybody can't get a TV slot, even on the Power 5 conferences, but they're playing on their network, and these guys are still getting drafted. So it's something. That's why I said last time when we talked about the HBCU combines, getting these guys exposure and getting these guys seen. It's part of it, but it ain't the biggest part of it. The biggest part of it is convincing these owners and GMs to make the investment on these HBCU guys, because these guys are seen. They know who they are. They just don't trust them enough to draft them.
So for those of you out there who have been living under a rock, please check out I Am Athlete podcast. It's the best podcast in the land.
Yeah.
By far. And 2, this week's episode with Deion Sanders talks about HBCUs and how they don't have this, but how they still can attract dogs. I think Deion is doing a good job of recruiting, and also explains that the newest relationship of recruiting as to why some of these HBCUs, they don't even bother to recruit the big stars because they assume, sometimes erroneously, that the big stars won't even consider them. That's what happened with I'll make this quick. That's what happened with the guy who used to play for the Colts, Reggie Wayne. People don't know that Reggie Wayne's family members, this is like a legacy of Grambling Tigers.
Mm-hmm.
His daddy went to Grambling, his uncle went to Grambling, both played football there. He has scores of other relatives because he's a Louisiana guy. He's from New Orleans, but he's a Louisiana guy, and that's where a lot of his daddy's relatives went. And what he said when that was first brought up through Essie, and also the sister Essie, she's from Hampton. She's
from Hampton, yeah.
And she used to work with the NFL. She's very smart. And her and was going back and forth with Channing for the first time.
With Channing Crowder, once again, that's strike 2, Channing.
Yeah.
You only get 2 strikes with me.
Yeah.
You only get 2 with me,
yeah,
dog. I understood the heat with Essie in that first interview. For those who haven't seen it, get an opportunity to watch it, because she's calling him in the lack of better terms. She's basically calling this dude a slave to his face, and it's hard to get any man, and especially a black man, to listen to you when you call him a slave. But she had points. She did have valid points, but you can't do that and call a man a slave. But that's strike 2 with you, dog. And you from here on out until I see you apologize, you catching this heat from me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like, what Reggie Wayne said was like he was mad. He was like he wanted Grambling to recruit him.
Yeah.
Grambling didn't bother. I mean, granted, Reggie Wayne, to me, is a future Hall of Famer. The boy could ball. He balled out at Miami, at the U, balled out in Indianapolis with Peyton Manning and company. But he was like, just holler at me. You never know.
You don't know until you do it.
You never know if you don't recruit me.
Yeah.
Now he might, in retrospect, he's glad he went to Miami.
Yeah.
He loves the Hurricanes, but it's like, just holler. He was like this. I remember him saying, just holler at me.
And the one thing I guess that would have been to their benefit, and I've asked this of people before, sometimes they don't holler at certain caliber players, especially the ones that are out of state, because of the cost is going to be for them out of their scholarship money, and they might not have enough funds to attract a bunch of out-of-state guys. So they go ahead and they take their time and their monies and focus on the guys they know they can get, instead of going after the home runs. They want to go ahead and be safe. But in the Reggie Wayne situation, he's from Louisiana. That would have been in-state for them. It wouldn't have cost them any additional dough to bring this dude in. And that's an opportunity that they probably missed out on.
Oh, they did miss out.
Yeah, well, they most definitely missed. But see, the only reason why I say probably is we don't necessarily know Reggie would have said yes to Grambling or not.
And then he said it himself. But he said, you never know. He said, you never know. Just holler at me.
Just holler.
That's his thing.
They even didn't do that. Yeah.
And he's still hurt by that, because that's his school growing up. That's his daddy's school, his uncle's school. That's legacy.
Yeah.
Legacy of Wayne's went to Grambling, but they never bothered to recruit him.
Reggie, you played too good in high school. You should have dumbed it down a little bit.
I guess so.
You'd have been the next Jerry Rice, man. Everybody would have been talking. Oh my God, hey, look at this dude came out of Grambling. My God, you played too good in high school.
Because if you can play, they'll find you.
They'll find you. Yeah.
And Aeneas Williams proved it.
Yeah.
Michael Strahan proved it.
Yeah.
Doug Williams proved it back in the day when they didn't like black quarterbacks. Shaq Harris proved it. I can go on. I think I said Aeneas Williams earlier.
You did.
Steve McNair, Aaron McNair proved it.
Yeah.
Second overall pick in the draft that year. So
hell, we could go to recent guys. Tavares Jackson out of Alabama A&M.
Yeah, Darius Leonard. You said him earlier.
Yeah.
Tariq Cohen.
Isaiah Crowell, Tariq Cohen, Dominic Rogers-Cromartie, Antoine Bethea. What's my man name? Hamilton that used to play with the the Chiefs, who was now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So there's several guys, man. Just give these dudes a chance. Give them an opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again,
So
if you can play, they'll find you.
They'll find you, dude.
Period. And the story. All right, man. We can go on about that for hours, but we're going to keep it straight and go straight to a random shit segment brought to you by absolutely no one. I was going to bring up what happened in Boston earlier today when Danny Ainge decided to call it quits.
Yeah.
Elevate Brad Stevens to their basketball czar position.
Yeah.
Who else is going to coach? But the biggest bombshell came in the basketball world. Coach Mike Krzyzewski, is going to call it a career after next season.
Yeah.
So basically, in 2 years, you're going to have in the ACC and in college basketball, you're going to have no Roy Williams, and you're not going to have Coach Mike Krzyzewski.
Yeah.
We all knew what's going to happen inevitably.
Yeah.
But damn, seems kind of quick, right?
Not really. And the reason why I say that, I think this past season was telling. The way it went down for him. I mean, I was thinking at the time it was kind of an anomaly, but it just seemed weird. He just seemed like he was just didn't want to be here last season. So when the announcement was made, I'm like, okay, I'm not too shocked. I'm not, because it just he didn't seem like, and it's also the play of his team and the fact that his team wasn't playing well. And they young teams just not having the opportunity and the time to gel with one another and play better. They'll probably end up playing a whole lot better next season. But yeah, it seems quick. But yeah, last year was very telling to me, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So, and plus Roy Williams, God bless him.
Yeah,
he kind of saw the writing on the wall. He was physically tired. You could see that. And his team made the tournament last year. COVID really did a number on his program as well.
Yeah.
So it was time. Then I expect that Coach Boeheim is going to call it quits soon.
Oh, soon, yeah.
And so basically, and probably Leonard Hamilton, because Leonard Hamilton is damn near 80. So
see, that's the thing, because
he looks great.
He does look great.
Yeah.
I want these guys to get out of basketball and live a life, man. Enjoy your family. Do something, man. You've done what you can. And I'm saying you've done what you can for the sake of Leonard Hamilton, who unfortunately hasn't won a national championship, but has had great teams.
Right.
So, yeah, go ahead, man. Get out of this rat race of basketball. Live your life and enjoy your family.
Yeah. Yeah. And so basically all you're going to have left are the Bennett guy, I can't forget his first name, out of Virginia.
Tony
Bennett from Virginia. Now I got Hubert Davis and his white wife at UNC. I don't say that as a racist thing. I said because he said a stupid ass comment.
He really did
that
say
really did not want to know that he had a white. That was totally unnecessary. I can't believe he said that. But anyway, you're going to have him. You're going to have John Shire, who's going to be now the coach of Wayne at Duke. You kind of like that move, but that's another story for another time. And of course, brother man Kevin Keese at NC State. That's pretty much it as far as the bigger names.
Yeah.
In the conference at the bigger schools. Oh, of course, and Jeff Capel is still at Pitt. He's doing the damn thing at Pitt. He's improving that situation. So that's it. That's your young blood.
Changing of the guard, man.
Yeah.
It was bound to happen.
Yeah, it is what it is. So we'll see what happens I think Carolina's going to do all right because they kept Hubert Davis. He's one of the big recruiters. Same with John Shire. He's been there for a while. He played for Coach K. He knows the coach. He knows the deal. So that's good that they have all that set up in place for those two men. I almost say young men, but Hubert's older than we are, and Shire, he's in his 30s, late 30s.
Yeah.
So, but anyway.
Hubert is a couple of more years older than we are.
Yeah, he's older than we are. Not by a lot, but yeah. So it's going to be very, very interesting. Do you have anything random that outside of what we talked about, or?
I mean, I'm gonna just say this real quick in terms of random shit, man. Now it was all shits and giggles here at Nationals Park, where that fan ran out on the field during the rain delay and decided, he wanted to turn the tarp into his own personal slip and slide. He wouldn't hurt nobody. There was no interruption of a game or anything. He wasn't attacking the player. He just looked for attention. Ha ha.
Right.
Funny. You NBA fans,
yeah,
I'm gonna need you to cut that shit out.
Yeah.
Now, see, now I'm talking like a stern parent. I don't even talk to my son like this. My son just turned 21. Happy birthday, son.
Yes.
I don't even talk to my son like this.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm gonna talk to you like this, dude. Not you, but the fans. Cut that shit out.
Yeah.
You're out here. You're mad because of whatever reason, especially with the Russell Westbrook situation. He wasn't doing nothing to nobody. Plus, they were losing, and he was leaving the floor because he was hurt. You want to dump popcorn on him? Cut that shit out.
Yeah.
John Morant's parents.
That made me very mad. That's fighting. That's a reason to fight.
It is. It is, especially when you come after somebody's parents, dog.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a reason to fight. And perhaps to his daddy for keeping his cool. And reporting it, because if someone called my wife what that white dude called her, I mean, it was bad enough for the other white dude to say, I'm gonna put a quarter in your back to watch your dance, boy. That's one thing. That how Josh, my dad, didn't go across and knock his teeth out after saying that. That's a whole nother discussion. But it's another thing for another random dude, to tell your woman, your wife, to shut the fuck up, bitch. That would not fly. That's a reason to fight. No. That is a reason to fight.
You know what? I'll say this.
Yeah.
They said it to the right ones. Yeah. I've heard of athletes' parents going at it. Shout out to Clinton Portis and his mom for going to war in Philly. And as a mama and you going to war in Philly, yeah, you knuckle them.
She's a real one, okay.
Yeah, but I'll say this: John Morant's dad came back to Utah game 2 and was chilling with the fans. It's like a video I saw somewhere on social media. The guy bought him a drink. They smack talked throughout the whole game. They yucked it up, and they kept it moving. Yeah,
and to his point, and to his credit, I forgot his dad's first name, but to his credit, he said the fans were great around him.
Yeah,
they enjoyed themselves, and it's just that those 3 motherfuckers,
who
had nothing to do with the fans around them, started the shit. And and mind you, they were way away from them, so they're cowards. On top of that,
of course.
So they weren't close to them. They were cowards, so they were far from them. But
it's always a coward.
And the fans, to their credit, who were around John Morant's parents, they got security, flat asses down, and pulling those motherfuckers out. So good for them, and good for the organization to apologize and comp them their tickets.
Yes.
Bravo, Jazz fans.
Utah,
and
exactly.
Jazz organization. Bravo.
Yeah.
Good. Now, this is one thing I would do.
Okay.
I said this on the video right quick, and I'm going to say it right now. In addition, I don't think banning them is enough. If they want to be famous, make their asses famous. Get the names, show their faces. They did that to that kid in Boston. But the names, they want to be famous, put the names up there. People can find those folks on the internet. They'll find you.
They'll find you.
Put your name and their picture. Names and pictures. And if you want to hit them hard in the pocketbook, which I think is a good idea too, be my guest. I'll tell you what, if you find an average fan over $10,000, they'll think twice about doing that. They'll think twice about
doing it again, yeah.
That $10,000 to a fan, that's a lot of money. That's not a player.
Yeah.
Even if you're well-to-do, if you're upper middle class, $10,000 is $10,000.
It still is, yeah.
So that's what they need to do. Find them heavily. Ban them is not enough. Find them heavily. Okay? Oh, at least $10,000. That's the starting point. Find them heavily. Put their names and their faces on TV screens. They want to be famous. Make their asses famous. And I guarantee you that shit will stop.
Exactly. But yeah, that nasty ass fan in New York.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh my God. Spit on Trae Young. Come on, man.
He spat over 50 Cent to hit Trae Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lucky 50 ain't do nothing to him, but I digress.
Yeah.
And then the Boston fan. I kind of understand the Boston fan though, because Kyrie did go out in the middle of the court and wipe his feet on the face of the leprechaun.
But that's assault. I know, I agree, but that's assault. You don't throw
that's still assault.
Bottle.
Yeah.
That could have fucked them up.
It could have. I'll say
Go ahead.
this.
Yeah.
I'm not condoning it.
No, of course not. I get it.
But the little bit of the fan of me understands, especially
Mhm.
as a Bama like myself, that have gone into other people's fields and
Yeah.
have wiped my feet on other people's logos.
Yeah.
I've done some disrespectful things to other teams' logos. And I would have understood if somebody threw a bottle at me too, but I
Yeah.
don't condone it. And
Yeah.
then, of course, the clown in Washington who decided he wants to snap the backboard. Did you see the full video of that one?
Slap the backboard. Nah, I missed that.
Okay. So that was game 3, I think it was.
Mhm.
I'm a fan, ran into the middle of the court, ran down. It was opposite of where the players were
Mhm.
as they were coming down to the court. So he sprinted
Oh,
to
that's
the
when
back.
the guy who was tackled, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha.
he
Okay.
ran up and he slapped the backboard. And
Oh,
then
I
that's
know
when
he
the
did
security
that.
guard
Okay.
came and tackled him. Yeah. Again, he wasn't necessarily looking to go after any players. He could have gotten to some,
Mhm.
which as a player, I'm like, yo, what's up with that? Because he really could have gotten some of the players, which
Mhm.
also would have been interesting because he probably would have got hands laid on him too
Right.
by a couple of players had he chose not to. But he was smart. He just knew I'm gonna act dumb, and yeah, he act dumb. But come on, man. It's been the year of COVID. I
Yeah.
understand everybody's just getting outside. Now y'all want to act a fool. Y'all about to ruin it for the fans and have it so that we don't even have an opportunity to go ahead and enjoy what's going on right now.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think all I gotta do. David Stern. I almost called him David Stern. Adam Silver. All you have to do. Rest in peace. All you have to do is again find them heavily. In addition to being banned, find them heavily. Put the names and their faces on TV. If they want to be famous, make them famous. Make them radioactive as far as their careers. Make them radioactive as far as their communities.
I also said let them fight the players who they got issue with. Hey, knuckle up. Let's go. You see, we were what? We're well over 20 years removed from Malice in the Palace.
Correct.
We have another one of those soon. All of this stuff calms down.
Brewing. It's brewing.
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Unfortunately, it's going to happen.
I don't want it to happen because my God, that was a black eye on the NBA.
Yeah, it was.
And then of course it became a race thing because of course it was black players that went out there, and of course it was angry black players that went out there and did this. But my God, it's ruined. My God.
I don't think you see that again from the players because even Melo World Peace, I can't run out test. He even said that he said, "Man, I understand, but it's not. Trust me, it's not worth it." He came on first. He came on Undisputed and said, "Yo, it's just not worth it," because he lost. He was in the prime of his career.
Yeah,
and he lost a lot of money, lost a lot of endorsements. He says it's not worth it. It's fucked up, but it's not worth. It's not worth it. All right, man. Let's call it. Thank y'all again for tuning to the next podcast. Thanks to my man Dwayne Nash. Please check him out in the yard. HBCU Sports wrestle about all things HBCU Sports. Sleazy Radio every Tuesday night on Facebook Live. Check him and his crew out there. Last but not least, check his great work on herosports.com, where he raps about FCS athletics as it pertains to HBCU Sports. Please go to www.theclowntimes.net. Please get my merch. CafePress.com, search for the Clown Time Sports.
Get it.
There you go. The link will be in the description at the conclusion of this video on YouTube tomorrow. And last but not least, please subscribe. Subscribe button. You'll be happy. We'll be happy. And by the way, we're 14 subscribers away from 100.
Let's get it.
I'm a party.
Let's get it.
Hey, I love the grind. We got to start from somewhere. Hey, it's going to be a small victory for me. It's a victory nonetheless. So I would be drinking like it's on sale for $19.99. Quoting that proof from Simpsons. But anyway, but please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Please feel free to comment. And we'll go from here. So until then, check us out next week. Peace out.
Peace.